Hey guys, Shadowz here. Welcome back to another Gears 5 video. Today we are going to be discussing 10 advanced tips and tricks for new beginner players to succeed in Gears 5. Gears of War, since its original debut release in 2006, which saw Epic Games add in a versus multiplayer mode at the very last second, with it almost being cut from the final version of the game, forever changed the video games industry, bringing with it a huge learning curve skill-based multiplayer experience that shooters have never seen before, and that continues into today with the Coalition Studios' brand new Gears 5. Being a third-person tactical cover-based shooter, a Gears game is like no other, and with so many players jumping into possibly experiencing Gears of War for the first time, with Gears 5 releasing on the Xbox One console and PC, as well as also being a major part of the new Xbox Game Pass program, I wanted to make sure that I share 10 advanced tips and tricks that I do believe will definitely help out new beginner players in succeeding at Gears 5. To get that jump start of game information, as Gears of War is very much a mind game about knowledge. The Nasher is a huge part of the Gears versus multiplayer meta, simply based on the fact that it's a cover-based first-person shooter. Being a cover-based shooter heavily designed on the emphasis of close-range combat and the movement just being so fast-paced, the Nasher shotgun being a spawn loadout starting weapon ties in perfectly with the flow of the game being your go-to primary, even over the Lancer assault rifle. The Nasher shotgun is a part of the game I would highly recommend every new player try to learn as quickly as possible, just because a majority of returning Gears players will be running around the map ready to get in your face with their very own Nasher. While the Nasher shotgun can perform multiple skill shots that we'll be covering in its own guide tutorial soon, the three main shots that you'll want to consistently use are the blind fire, pop shot and the hard aim. The blind fire is a pull of the right trigger that allows for you to keep moving and maneuvering around cover at the same time as you try to juke the enemy player into either bouncing or maybe firing at the wrong time. The pop shot is virtually a blind fire but with a snap of aiming in there, with a pull of the left trigger followed very quickly by the right trigger, giving you a bit more accuracy when needed if the enemy player is at a medium distance, sitting in cover or generally most situations. The hard aim isn't used as much in Gears games anymore with the Nasher, just because a lot of Gears players have adapted to how fast the movement system can be, but never fails for dealing damage over long distances, so that it might just be the last bit of damage the enemy needs, so the hard aim will give you all of the accuracy advantage you can ask for. Next up, the cover-based system in Gears is one of the, if not most, mechanical-based movement systems that you will ever come across in video games, as you can literally win gunfights and eventually matches based just on how you take advantage of the cover in the game. Being a cover-based shooter describes Gears 5 for exactly what it is, as cover plays a huge important role not only in versus multiplayer, but the way that the game's multiplayer maps are designed. Every aspect of the map takes the player's ability of taking cover into consideration, meaning that cover is so damn important it can be used to attack an enemy as you slip and slide between cover pieces, used to regain health ready for the next fight, or even maybe used to escape quickly as you slowly get exposed to a movement technique called wall bouncing that will again require its very own guide tutorial video. Right hand advantage is a community term that was created all of those years ago to describe the in-game advantage players can gain simply based on the way that the third-person character mechanics are designed around cover. If you haven't noticed already, the character by default will stand on the right side with the weapon in the right hand, meaning that when approaching a cover or any type of cover piece, you don't actually have to use it by taking cover, but just standing behind it. Having the weapon out on the right side, it gives you what we call right side advantage, as you can shoot around the corner naturally, unlike what you can't really do on the left side. This means when entering gunfights, players should always be aware of the right hand advantage rule, always taken into consideration, especially around cover, that moving to the right and grabbing that right hand will win you a ton of gunfights, as a majority of players will fall into the left hand trap, ending up in a very easy kill every time. It's very easy to lose focus and get wrapped up in the Gears 5 versus multiplayer experiences it's happening in real time, but as long as you always remember the right hand advantage and to keep your composure, you'll perform a lot better from the get-go, just knowing the golden rule. The health system has been revamped in Gears 5 to act a little bit differently compared to its predecessors in the old Gears games, as the new inverse omen gives out a ton of new information that is super handy to the player. When getting shot at, the inverse omen will highlight in red with an indication in the direction of where the enemy fire is coming from and the exact direction of incoming damage. As you take even more damage, the inverse omen will appear in full, meaning that you are at around 50% health, with the fully reddened screen indicating that death is on the horizon, that if it does happen that you'll see the crimson omen. Learning and understanding the new inverse omen based on its different stages will just give you a much better chance of knowing when to push the enemy player and when to take advantage of using cover and gaining your health back, as the inverse omen will slowly disappear. DBNO or down but out is a crawl-like stage that you'll see a lot in game, which means the player has lost their full health and entered a revival state that does leave you defenseless but not entirely out of the game just yet, as you can actually mash the A button will self-revive yourself back into the fight if nobody comes to your aid. Being DBNO is where all of the awesome executions can be done, but don't be fooled with their awesomeness, as it can actually get you killed very easily. The meat shield, however, is a very successful execution which is achieved by pressing the X button, giving you additional health pretty much as you are able to sponge oncoming bullets for a short duration, giving you the chance to keep your health up but also plan out your next move. The meat shields are pretty heavy though, so if you really need to ditch the extra weight as you get slowed down, changing weapon on the D-pad will actually allow you to drop it off instantly as you do continue on with your match in full speed ahead. TACCOM is one of the most underused, underrated, but so reliable features in the game that you guys will see me constantly spam it throughout my gameplay videos just because it gives you so much of in-game information advantage. Map-based pickup weapons locations can be seen throughout the map itself, in white indicating they are on the map, greyed out meaning they are on respawn with a timer that shows exactly when the weapon will actually spawn next. The outlines of your teammates can be seen throughout the walls of any multiplayer map, which is a huge game changer as it allows you to see where your teammates are and maybe make a prediction of where the enemy could be. Marked enemies can also be seen in TACCOM mode, meaning that marking enemies with the left trigger, then clicking in the left analog stick will allow you to see the exact location and the direction of that enemy player, which is just information that you can only access through the TACCOM. Starting loadout for every player in the game is pretty much universal, as each player starts out with a Lancer, Nasher, Snub Pistol, and the choice of either a smoke grenade or a flashbang. The perfect combination of knowing when to use any in certain situations definitely plays a lot into making out alive a majority of the time. The Lancer assault rifle used as a supportive weapon, dealing damage across virtually any distances. The Nasher shotgun being used as your main primary that you'll want to out most of the time, especially if your teammates are crossing for you. The Snub Pistol used as a last minute backup if you need it to reload or maybe deal some final damage on an enemy player trying to run away. The Smoke Grenade, having its stun removed in Gears 5, plays a different role in the game than before, being a perfect grenade now for blocking out vision from parts of the map, whether that be a choke point or an objective, or used to bait and switch the enemy, confusing them in their own side of the map. The Flashbang is the all-new stun grenade, as it can not only stun players but also frighteningly blind them for a short duration, which is super useful for pockets of enemy players or a group of people trying to make a push through the smaller environments like maybe the inner walls of a building. Using a combination of both the smoke and the flash grenades can depend on how the enemy team is playing the game, with flashbangs being most effective against hard rushing Nasher players, or smoke grenades for the Lancer squads camping it up in their hidden away spots. Map-based pickup weapons, otherwise known as power weapons, are separated into two different categories, being a primary and secondary. Secondaries are your power weapons like your Retro Lancer, your Markser, or the Overkill that gives you an upgrade of your starting loadout weapon that packs a lot more damage and firepower in aiding yourself and your teammates to deliver a heavier punch than normal when making plays. Primary power weapons are all of the community fan favourites like the Longshot Sniper, the Turbo, a Boomshot, and the Dropshot, just to name a few, and so many more that act out as their very own legendary weapons on the battlefield, being able to deal immense damage that can change the tide of the win in your favour for whoever controls the power weapons at the most beneficial time. Remember the TACCOM feature, that being able to see the map-based pickup weapon timers. This is where it comes in super handy if the enemy players aren't constantly checking their very own TACCOM as well. Teamwork definitely makes the dream work. Gears of War versus multiplayer has always been about being a team player and working together for that match victory. Understanding and knowing when to use certain weapons is key, as everybody running in with your Nasher is never going to really do any good for anybody. If you go to take a look at what your teammates are using, you can make a personal choice on using an alternative so that you can bring a different vocabulary to the gameplay that the enemy team won't expect. Support fire for your Nashering teammates with a Lancer, Snub Pistol, or even the secondary power weapons. Get up and close and personal with Nashering at the enemy team that your teammates are firing upon, and marking whenever possible, because it's most likely that your randomized squad of teammates won't be using mics to communicate. Lastly, the final tips and tricks for Gears 5 versus multiplayer is your personal ability of being able to adapt to the current situation or gunfight at hand. Reading your enemy like they were a book makes the game a lot more easier for you to counter what they're doing with what you can do to ensure that you can secure the win. Gears has always been about thinking, planning and strategizing in the moment by using the right weapons, the cover system and teamwork to conquer anything you might find yourself getting stuck into. Each and every aspect of the game, whether that be the starting loadout, the cover, the movement mechanics of the power weapons, all play their very own specific role in the game, and it just comes down to playing the same experience over and over again until you do learn what to do exactly for the next time that it does happen. Please make sure to leave me a comment down below telling me what you think. What is your guys' opinion on the Gears 5 versus multiplayer now the game's been out for over a week now? If you guys are new to Gears, I really do hope this video helps you out in some sort of way. As I did mention earlier a few times throughout this video, Gears of War is one of the most in-depth, hardest games to ever exist, with things like the Nasher shotgun, wall bouncing and even a controller setting sensitivity requiring their very own guide videos, which I will get to very soon. So there you have it guys, full details on the 10 advanced tips and tricks for new beginner players to succeed in versus multiplayer for Gears 5. Give the video a thumbs up and share if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you aren't already. Thank you guys for watching, and as always I shall see you in the next one.